What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Birth Body Soul. During this week's vlog, we're going to talk all about anti-core exercises and why they're so important for pregnancy and postpartum. First, let's talk about the action and the function of your core. So when we think abs, core, we're probably going to think crunches, sit-ups, planks, leg lifts, all of that. But the true function of our core is to not create these bending or side bending or twisting movements. The true action of our core is actually to resist or prevent movement. And that's gonna help protect our spines, our pelvises, and our internal organs. Okay, so that's why it's so important to do anti-core exercises. We want to strengthen the muscles to prevent our bodies from moving into all these funky positions that pregnancy and postpartum really try and put us in. So when we strengthen our core with these anti-core exercises, we're getting a multitude of benefits. First, I already mentioned that it's going to protect our spine, it protects our pelvis, our joints, our internal organs. Having a strong core also creates a stable base for movement. It's going to help us transfer force effectively from our upper to our lower body. And most importantly, for pregnancy and postpartum, these exercises build real strength that are going to transfer to pregnancy and postpartum and mom life. So today we're going to take a look at 4 different categories of anti-core exercises. We have anti-extension, anti-flexion, anti-rotation, and anti-lateral flexion. So we're going to go through what each of those means, and I'm going to give you a few examples of each. First up, we have anti-extension. So extension means arching back. So we are working the front line of our core here to prevent our bodies from moving into an extension movement pattern. This is going to help reduce rib flare, pull on a diastasis recti, and just overall protect the front line of your core. So here are some examples of anti-extension exercises. In the upper left, we have a tall kneeling overhead extension, and you can see that the resistance is coming from backwards and downwards. So as you press overhead, the front line of your core has to work hard to prevent you from being pulled to where the resistance is coming from. Same thing for the upper right, where we have a banded heel drop. The resistance is coming from backwards and downwards. So once again, the front line of your core has to work hard to prevent you from moving into an arched position with the resistance of the band. On the bottom left, we have the beginner variety of a ball rollout. So as those arms extend away from you, it's very easy for you to fall into an arch position where your ribs flare. So the core, again, is working harder to maintain that rib to pelvis connection. And then any variety of a bear hold, a lift, a crawl, a lateral crawl, just like you see in the lower right, works anti-extension as well, because once again, it's very easy to let those ribs dip down and your back to move into an arch. The next isn't as frequently talked about as the remaining 3 categories, and that's anti-flexion. So flexion is the rounding forward of our spine. And if you are a new mom, you know this position very well. So we want to strengthen now the muscles on the back line of our body and the back line of our core to help pull us out of that flexion position. So anti-flexion exercises typically involve something where the weight or resistance is out in front of your body, and that resistance is going to want to pull you into that rounded position. So in the upper left, we have a tall kneeling press out. So as those arms extend and get further away from your body and your lever arm gets longer, the back line of your core has to work harder to keep you upright and prevent from that rounding forward position. In the upper right, we have a hip extension static hold. In the full video, you'll see that there are many different arm options. In the lower left, we have more of a dynamic press out. So we're sitting down into a sumo squat as we press out, which makes it a little bit more challenging to keep the torso upright and prevent that rounding. And then in the lower right, we have just a tall banded static hold. So when that arm is out long away from you, your body again has to work hard to prevent you from rounding forward with the pull of the resistance. The next category is anti-rotation. Now let me first say that rotation is very important to maintain during pregnancy and postpartum. We want to maintain good rotational ability of our middle to upper spines. This is going to help close the diastasis. It's going to help protect our lower back and our necks. Rotation is very important. However, there are certain instances and movements where you do not want to be rotating. So for example, carrying your car seat, you don't want to be twisting because now you're putting excessive strain and stress on your core. So training anti-core exercises is going to be really helpful for maintaining a nice neutral upright position against resistance, typically just on one side of your body. With anti-rotation, we are doing just that. We're trying to resist the rotation of our resistance. So in the upper left, we have a beginner's seated Pallof press. So the resistance is coming from the side. The goal is to be able to press straight out and maintain a midline position with your arms and the band without letting that band pull you into a rotation or a twist. In the upper right, you have a bird dog lateral row. So you can see here again that the resistance is coming from the side. So I'm trying not to let my torso rotate towards where the resistance is coming from. On the bottom left, I have a bear pull through. Very easy to let my shoulders and my hips rotate while I move and pass that dumbbell underneath me. But again, core is working hard to maintain our position and resist rotation. And then the bottom right here, we do have a little bit of rotation. So with this landmine twist, I am aiming to lock my hips in place and just limit that rotation to my upper body. So now my pelvis and my lower back are safe against the resistance of my upper body. Fourth category is anti-lateral flexion. So what that means is anti-side bending. So if you got baby on one hip all the time, you're kind of side bending over to them. If you're carrying the car seat, you're either bending towards it or overcompensating and moving away. So we want to strengthen the obliques, the deep line of our core, to help again maintain a nice neutral upright position when we are holding or carrying something on one side versus the other. All right, let's take a look at some anti-lateral flexion exercises where your body is working hard to keep you upright versus weight on just one side of your body. So in the upper left, we have a tall kneeling static hold. So you're going to hold one heavy dumbbell and hold it by your side in a tall kneeling position. You should feel your opposite oblique turn on to help prevent you from leaning towards the weight or overcompensating and leaning away. And that's a great beginner exercises that can then progress to a suitcase hold, march, or carry, which is on the upper right. So same thing, now I'm upright, I only have weight on one side, and again, I can just hold it, I can march in place, or I can add dynamic movement with a walk or a carry. On the bottom left, even though this doesn't look like a direct core exercise, because I'm only weighting my squat on one side, whether I'm holding it down by my side or up by my shoulder, my core is on to prevent me from tipping one direction or the other. And then in the bottom right, we have this triangle pose where I am leaning away. So yes, I am leaning to the side, but my oblique is working hard to not let me just collapse as low as possible. I am maintaining and controlling that side bending motion. So of course, we know that real life is not one directional. We are not just moving this way. We are not trying to just prevent this movement. So there are a bunch of core exercises that involve more than one anti-core category. And training these is also very important because they are going to most mimic your mom life situations. Some of the exercises we've covered already could technically fall into this multi-planar category, but let's take a look at a few more. So on the left-hand side, we have a tall kneeling overhead Pallof press. So this is a anti-lateral flexion and anti-rotation exercise because as you press overhead, your body's working hard not to side bend towards where the resistance is coming from or rotate towards it. On the upper right, we have a half kneeling to standing overhead dumbbell hold. So obviously we're not really holding stuff over our head during mom life, but we are typically holding things on one side. So for example, if you're on the floor with your baby and you're trying to get up from the floor to a standing position, this exercise can help mimic that. So you're going from a half kneeling position into an overhead or into a standing position, keeping that dumbbell high. So you're avoiding arching backwards, so anti-extension, and you're avoiding side bending towards the side, anti-lateral flexion. And then this bottom one here, this half kneeling windmill, this is kind of all of them. So we are either coming down to our hand, down to a block onto our forearm, or all the way down onto the floor. So you've got a lot of things going on here. We're trying not to side bend. We're trying not to arch or flare or twist where we shouldn't be twisting. So you might be wondering, when can I do these? Is it safe during pregnancy? Is it safe during postpartum? The answer is yes. Okay, so you do want a good foundation and understanding of your core. So if you are newly postpartum, you don't want to be jumping right back into these exercises. We want to work on our deep diaphragmatic breathing, our pelvic floor contraction, and then our deep core contraction and coordinating those three things together. Just like anything else, we need to build our way up to these exercises. But in terms of pregnancy, they are safe, they are recommended, and I do them with all of my pregnant and postpartum moms. Okay, so to recap, we want to make sure we are including anti-core exercises into our pregnancy and postpartum routines to make sure that our cores are stable and strong enough to prevent unwanted movements during mom life. I'm going to be linking the full videos, so all of the exercises that we discussed today, down in the description below. If you'd like this, please follow, like, subscribe, and make sure you check out the corresponding blog posts to this and any other blog posts I have over on my website at Birth Body Soul. See you next time.